Wow, the wait has felt so long for this book. Onyx Storm has finally been released. This is probably one of the most anticipated books, if not the most anticipated book being released this year. I was anxiously waiting for this to get downloaded onto my Kindle. So when it finally dropped at 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I was stoked. It'd be really fun to do a reading vlog of my reactions, all the theories, everything that I've seen out there. It's time to see what actually happens. Ugh, I'm nervous. It's time to finally discuss Onyx Storm. I've had a few days to sit with the ending and process everything that I read, and I'm ready to chat about it. I think that Onyx Storm, in my opinion, is the best book in the series by Rebecca Yarros so far. I think that the writing style was a lot better. I think that the world building was better. I think that we're getting more of a glimpse into actual characters and their development. than what we had seen in previous books. The only qualms I had is that it felt like the first 11-ish chapters, it seemed like there was a lot of high stakes things happening that were being resolved so quickly rather than having them drawn out a bit. Once you get past those beginning chapters, I feel like the story really took off and the plot was actually flowing really nicely. I do wish that we could have spent more time on each aisle, and so I wonder if that'll actually happen down the road and this was just an introduction to the aisles, but we'll see what happens in book 4 and book 5. Okay, my favorite part now is talking about theories, and we're gonna go into depth about them a little bit. I'm also gonna be including some snippets from the book so that way you can actually see some contextual clues of why I think what I'm thinking and where I'm drawing some of this from. One of my biggest theories that I have, and I just need to get this out there right away, especially while it's fresh on my mind and I'm remembering all the other books, I am convinced more so now than ever that Violet is either a Venin or she has been blessed by the goddess Dune. Which I think that last one we definitely get answered in this book, but I am still very much convinced that she is part Venin somehow. And I think that explains why she is so sought after by the Venin in a way that we don't see other characters. Xaden is incredibly powerful and we do not see the Venin coming after him in the same regard. I am convinced Violet's mom channeled while she was pregnant with Violet, and that is what made Violet so much weaker and so different than all of her other siblings. Stick with me here because I know it's going to seem a little crazy for a hot second. And I think that she's channeled a few times after Violet was born as well. We see it in the first book where Violet is joking about how she saw her mom with bloodshot eyes after being stationed at a base, and it was a really long night and she came back and she had these bloodshot eyes, and Violet thought that she was a Venin because her dad was telling her these fables. I do not think that that is coincidence, and I think that this may be before Violet was dedicated. Mira references that when she was staying with their grandmother, it was just her and Brennan, and Violet was not with them at the time. She was taken with her parents. During that time is when Asher went to go get Violet dedicated, and he did it without their mom. And I think the reason why they did it without her mom is because their mom had channeled and she needed to find stability. The way that we see Xaden finding stability when he's talking about, I'm on day 72, 73. And I think that's what Violet's mom was doing. She was having that break to stabilize herself, and that is why she was not with them. Because we have to remember that Violet's mom, Mira states, did not write for months during the period where her dad and her mom disappeared to go to these aisles. And I think that Violet's dad took Violet to go get dedicated to protect her in case things went absolutely bonkers and south with their mom. And I think the reason why she was only able to partially be dedicated, and they keep saying that she still has choices to make before she can fully be accepted, is because Violet has to make the choice on if she is going to embrace that part of her, that Venin part of her, or if she is not going to and she's actually going to fight against them. Again, I recognize that that is definitely a reach, but there's just something about it that there's some other pieces that I'm probably not fully remembering that are going to click into why this makes so much sense. Taryn and Sigale broke their mating bond with the help of Indarna. We know that Indarna can break bonds. We saw her do this with Violet. And I think that that's the reason why Taryn needed rest at the end of the battle. We see it mentioned that he needed to take a rest to recover. I do not think that he is recovering from everything that happened. I think that he is recovering from breaking the bond, and he is mourning it as well. This needed to be done is so that Taryn and Sigale can go longer periods of time without seeing one another, and this allows Xaden to get far away, because if him and Violet are still connected, then that puts him in danger and everything in jeopardy. I do think that though that there's some sort of a catch, because when the other Irid is talking to Indarna about how she can break bonds and she can change them, he says, "You are Irid, you are magic. Bend it, shape it, break it as you see fit." So I think there's a way that she can alter the way that bonds work without fully disintegrating them necessarily. I just gotta say, Sigale has got the short stick of every Xaden and Violet terrible decision-making interaction, whatever, that has gone on, and my heart actually breaks for her. When Xaden chose to become Venin because of how much he loves Violet, Sigale was like, I chose you. Like, I chose you over my mate, over everything else, and you do this as a return? It doesn't sit well with me, and it kind of makes me really dislike Xaden and Violet's relationship at times, because why must the dragon suffer? But that's like a whole nother tangent that I don't even want to get into right now. Dane has a second signet. We see that when Sloane is siphoning magic from Dane, she mentions, someone like you shouldn't have this much power. Sloane, what does that mean? Because we know that Dane can take people's memories, but that's really not that powerful when you consider a bunch of other signets. What else is Dane hiding? Also interesting is that you only see second signets with those that have the relics, and then Violet, who happens to be bonded to 2 dragons, which leaves me with a lot of questions towards Dane. I believe that a new hatching ground is being constructed. See at the very end of Onyx Storm that 6 dragon eggs were taken. 6 dragon eggs, 6 dragon breeds. And before you say, oh, but there's a 7th breed, Andarna, the Irids, I think that they're taking those eggs to where the Irids are, and they're creating a new hatching ground there. And I almost feel as if that's like some sort of a backup plan in case really hits the fan on the continent. I don't know how they're going to logistically make that work, because the Irids said that they don't want any part in the war or anything like that. So I don't know. Unless that one isle did want eggs in return for their services, I just don't see them bringing them eggs. Those are my main theories. A major question that I have, though, after reading Onyx Storm is during that scene where Sloane is siphoning from Dane, which I had mentioned, Violet notes that she did not see a mark left on Brennan or Dane. She says, and she walks as Brennan walks away. Weird. There's no mark at the back of his neck like he carries on his palm. There hadn't been one on Dane's wrist either. I know that that is important. There's a bunch of theories about Nolan potentially turning Venom in order to save Brennan's life, and that's why he has the rune, because maybe you only get a mark if a Venom marks you. My brain is stuck. It's hung up on that one point. I'm curious to know if you agree or disagree with any of those theories, and what are some of your major theories that you have after finishing Onyx Storm. That's it for right now. I can't wait to see you all next time. Happy reading!